Hello! Welcome to Wheel Talk. I'm Recappa Sedai. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite characters, Iguain Alvear. I know not everyone likes Iguain. One day I will do a video about Iguain's worst moments and show the other side of this. That day is not today. We are here to celebrate my girl. Yes, Iguain! This is a spoiler episode. We are spoiler heavy. If you watch this episode and you haven't finished the books, you will be spoiled. I'm not kidding. Like, hardcore spoilers. Today, I am going to rank Iguain Alvear's top 10 moments. You're probably wondering, how is she gonna fairly rank Iguain's top moments? I am judging and ranking these moments based on the Recappa meter. The Recappa meter is a very objective scale based entirely on my emotions, from 1 to 10. So for example, let's say I'm reading the Wheel of Time and I'm just like, oh my god, the White Cloaks, I don't want to read this anymore, this is boring. Moments like that would be a 1. But let's say I'm reading the Wheel of Time and it's so good that I scream and I throw the book and I start crying and then I start smashing stuff and then I set my house on fire. That would be like a 6. And then if I read a moment that's so good I actually just black out, that's a 10. Sometimes my friends are like, Recappa, no one blacks out from reading. I'm pretty sure it's the wine. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you don't read the Wheel of Time, so. This is gonna be really fun. Let's get started. Iguain Alvear's top 10 moments. This fly is gonna drive me nuts. In 10th place, Iguain meets her toe. I love this part. I got it. Iguain is about to leave the Aiel and travel to Salidar. Before she goes, she admits that she disobeyed the Wise Ones and went to tell Aran Riyadh without their permission. She also admits she's been lying and she's not really Aes Sedai. That's a big one. And she's been told to get to Salidar as fast as possible, so she really does need to go. And yet, before she goes, we get this. She still had to look up to meet their eyes, but she did it proudly, head high. I have toe. I ask the favor that you will help me meet my toe. Salidar was going to have to wait. And then the Aiel beat her until they feel her toe has been met. This idea of asking someone to hit you until you've met your toe, it's out there, but there's something very grown up about this moment, and I really like it for Iguain. The Wise Ones have given Iguain so much, and she doesn't feel like she can leave until this is settled, and I love that. I also love when they're all done hitting Iguain, what Soralia says. This woman has no toe toward me. I knew you were Aiel in your heart. At the end, Soralia was right. She had been Aiel in her heart. She thought a part of her heart would always be Aiel. It gets me every time. Okay, on the Recappa meter, I give this a 10. I absolutely blacked out when I first read that. Wonderful, moving on. Coming in at number 9. Iguain speaks for herself. This is when they're out on the ice in Murandy and Iguain is giving a huge speech to a bunch of nobles. The reason this moment is so amazing is because of what Romonda and Lelaine do before it happens. Romonda strode across the carpets to within arm's reach of Iguain. You're an infant. Your bottom still remembers the last switching it had as a novice. Now sit down. You will attend with all the pomp and dignity your title deserves, and you will tell them I am to speak for you. Right after this, Lelaine says, whatever Romonda has threatened you with, and it's easy enough to imagine, I can deliver. Romonda, on the other hand, has upset a number of sitters with her bullying. So unless you want to find yourself with less authority than the little you have now, Romonda is going to be surprised tomorrow when you name me to speak for you. And then they get on the ice and Iguain doesn't name either of them. And it's amazing! Iguain putting Romonda and Lelaine in their place is so delicious. To me, that moment on the ice, that is the beginning of her journey towards becoming the Amyrlin in her own right. I love it. So from a 1 to 10 on the Recappa meter, I would give this an 11. Cool, moving on. In 8th place, we have Iguain chooses Sylviana as her keeper. Hell yeah. At the end of the Gathering Storm, Iguain gives this huge speech to all of the Aes Sedai, the rebels, and those who were with Elaida. This is a mixed review moment for Iguain. People have different feelings about this speech, but there's one part that I think everyone can agree is just fabulous. Iguain summons Sylviana, who's been locked up. Only one woman in this room was willing to stand up for what she knew to be right. You did your duty, Sylviana. Rise. My reign will be marked with tension between myself and the Red, and I will lose the strength of hundreds of women. I don't see any way around that, Mother, Sylviana said, honestly. I do, Iguain said. Sylviana Brehon, I would have you as my keeper of the chronicles. Let it not be said that I spurned the Red. Yes, I love that moment. I think it's a great moment for the Aes Sedai, for the White Tower, for the Red Aja and the future of the Red Aja. Great moment for Iguain as Amyrlin. I also just really like Sylviana and I approve of Iguain's choice, so 8th place. On the Recappa meter 1 to 10, this is a solid 12.5. Cool, moving on. In 7th place, Iguain's test for the ring. I absolutely love every test for the ring and test for the shawl that we see. They're just so cool. I'm grouping Iguain's whole accepted test into one moment on this list. I like all of it. It's a really exciting, fun thing to read. And I'm proud of Iguain at the end of it. She works it. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast. There is a price to be Aes Sedai. With a scream of rage, of loss, Iguain threw herself at the arch. She almost wished she would miss and plunged to her death. Light plucked her apart fiber by fiber, sliced the fibers to hairs, split the hairs to wisps of nothing, all drifted apart on the light, forever. The tests are so cool! I could read them all day. Anyway, yeah, I give Iguain's whole accepted test 7th place. I think that's fair. And on the Recappa meter, Iguain's test gets like 14. I just calculated that, it's 14. And if you think my scoring system is sketchy, don't worry about it. Coming in at number 6. Iguain levels up from Forkroot to Fabulous. This part is amazing. So the Seanchan start their attack on the White Tower and Iguain is dosed with Forkroot. She can't channel. First time I read this, I was like, well, this sucks. We're finally at this fight with the Seanchan and Iguain can't channel? That's no fun. Turns out it's super fun. While the battle is raging, Iguain assembles the novices and teaches them to link. Then she joins them in a circle and she can totally channel. In fact, she's really strong with all the novices combined. And it's like, oh my god, she went from 0 to 10. Get it? How resourceful of her, I'm so impressed. It gets better. Once she has enough novices linked to her to form a gateway, Iguain travels to the Angreal storeroom. This moment, she smiled broadly, sliding a fluted white wand as long as her forearm off the top shelf. An awesome, almost overpowering torrent of power flooded through her. It surged into Iguain like a deep breath drawn in. It made her long to roar. She looked at the 3 novices, smiling broadly. Now we're ready, she announced. Yeah, never mind 0 to 10. She went from 0 to 1,000. You can dose Iguain with as much Forkroot as you want. She'll find a way around it and then some. Cause she's a badass. Woo! That's a good one. On the I almost knocked over everything. Wine, books, everything. On my scale of 1 to 10, this is a 28. Cool, moving on. And in 5th place, Iguain smashes a pitcher into Rena, and I get my life. This part is so satisfying. Iguain has a history with this pitcher. A few chapters earlier, she explains to Min, I cannot touch anything I even think of as a weapon. A few weeks ago, I considered hitting Rena over the head with that pitcher, and I could not pour wash water for 3 days. I had to convince myself I would never, under any circumstances, hit her with it before I could touch it again. She knew what had happened and would not let me wash anywhere except with that pitcher and bowl. Later, Elaine and Nynaeve rescue Iguain. Rena walks in and sees them all after Iguain's collar has been removed. Before anyone else could move, Iguain snatched the pitcher from her washstand and smashed it into Rena's midriff. The pitcher shattered, and the Soldam lost all her breath in a gurgling gasp and doubled over. Iguain leapt on her with a snarl, shoving her flat, grabbing for the collar she had worn where it still lay on the floor, snapping it around the other woman's neck. Get it, Iguain. Then Nynaeve pulls Iguain off of Rena. She says, it's not right, you should not be stooping to her level. And I totally get where Nynaeve is coming from, but I wouldn't have minded if she'd let Iguain get a couple more hits in. I have no sympathy for Rena. I hope that pitcher hurt like hell. On the Recappa meter from 1 to 10, this is a 36. Next on the list, in 4th place, Iguain exposes Shiriam as Black Aja. I love this part. Definitely the best Aes Sedai meeting. Iguain has summoned the hall, they're sealed to the flame. She has just taken the 3 oaths and she's still holding the power. And this goes down. We will each in turn use the oath rod to release ourselves from the 3 oaths, then re-swear them in turn. Once we are all bound, we will be able to promise that we are not servants of Shiriam embraced the source. Iguain had been anticipating that. She slammed a shield between Shiriam and the source. Are you Black Aja, Shiriam? What? Of course not! Do you consort with the Forsaken? No, Shiriam said, glancing to the sides. Have you been released from your oaths? No! Do you have red hair? Of course not! I never... I was talking about her hair. I live for that drama. I need a better Shiriam wig. On the Recappa meter, 1 to 10, this is definitely a 63. Woo! We're down to the top 3. In third place, the bronze medal goes to Iguain takes down Mesa-Ana in Teleron Riyadh. Yes, the entire battle sequence in Teleron Riyadh is fabulous. We get to see Egwene's leadership, we get to see her combat skills, we get to see her badassery of the entire battle in Teleron Riyadh and of Egwene's actual face-off with Mesa-Ana. This is my favorite part. In this place, an Adom is as meaningless as the weaves it prevents. It is only a piece of metal, this line right here, and it only will stop you if you accept that it will. The Adom unlocked and fell free of her neck. Boom! And then she breaks Mesa-Ana's brain, which is also very cool. Very worthy third place. On a scale from 1 to 10, this scores a 207. The top 2 moments on this list are neck and neck. It's a very close finish for first place. It's a good thing I have such an objective number system, or I don't know how I would have chosen. But second place goes to Iguain wields the Flame of Tar-Valon to destroy the Sharans and Mihail. And she makes some really pretty crystals doing it. I bet a lot of you would have put this first on your list, and there's an argument to be made that this is the best Iguain moment. Black cracks into nothingness expanded all around Iguain as she faced the hundreds of Sharans. She closed her eyes and drew in the power. More than a woman should be able to. More than was right. Her body was spent. She offered it up and became a column of light, releasing the flame of Tar-Valon into the ground beneath her and high into the sky. The power left her in a quiet, beautiful explosion, washing across the Sharans and sealing the cracks created by her fight with Mihail. Egwene's soul separated from her collapsing body and rested upon that weave, writing it into the light. You know, if you have to lose a character, that's how you want them to go out. She does something so incredible and empowering in her last moment that even though she's dying, I just cheer. Thank you, Mother. Oh, that part always gets me. Iguain! On the Recappa meter from 1 to 10, I give this 1,000. And I don't want to hear anyone saying, Recappa, your scoring seems inaccurate. I have calculated this carefully. All right, we've finally come to it. Drum roll. In first place, you know what it is. You probably guessed it by now. Iguain marries Iguain! That was a funny joke. No. Okay, for real. Number 1 for the win. You guessed it. Iguain blasts the Shanshan out of the frickin' sky. This part is just, ugh. Everything Iguain does during the Shanshan raid is awesome. I have to isolate this moment as my favorite Iguain moment ever. It is just so badass! Toe-Rockin' winged about in the air, swooping around the tower, trying to take Iguain with shields or blasts of fire. Smaller Rockin' darted through the air, crossbowmen on their backs, launching bolts at her. But she was a fount of power. Drawn from deep within the fluted rod in her hands, she almost seemed not a being of flesh, but one of pure power. Blasts of lightning stormed from the sky. Fire sprouted from her hands. Shield after shield came to sever her from the source. They were like the hands of children trying to stem the roaring flow of a waterfall. She could not be stopped, save by a full circle. And the Shanshan didn't use circles. The Adom prevented it. The attackers prepared weaves to strike her down, but each time Iguain struck first, deflecting the balls of fire with a blast of air, or simply bringing down the Toe-Rockin. She formed a ball of fire in each hand, blasting another beast from the sky as it swooped too close. Yes, some would escape, but they would pay dearly. She had to make certain they never attacked the tower again. This raid had to cost them. Yes! Get it! Don't with the Amerlin. It's so good! Ah! If you don't love that part, I don't know what to tell you. On the Recappa meter, I give this a 1,001. Neck and neck with the Flame of Tar-Valon moment, but for me, nothing beats Iguain ripping the Shanshan out of the sky. It makes me so happy. That was exhausting. How do you feel about my list? Do you agree with how I ranked things? Did I miss anything? I love talking about Iguain if you haven't noticed, so let me know your thoughts. Before we wrap up, I want to take a second to acknowledge everyone who is protesting for equality. I will continue sharing links in the show notes about ways we can support. We're all in this together and we all have to do what we can. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you can like the video, subscribe to Wheel Talk, it really helps. I appreciate it. And until next week, walk in the light and keep it wheel. Do you think I could, make an Amerlin stole? It would look like a mess, but that's never stopped me before.